Good morning. I am Kenyon McDuffie, at-large council member and chair of the council's Committee on Business and Economic Development. Today is Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024, and we're convening this hearing in person in room 500 of the John A. Wilson Building, as well as via Zoom. The time is 1:10 p.m., and I'm calling this public roundtable to order. Today, the committee will receive testimony on 4 resolutions. PR 25-964, the Washington Convention Center, the Washington Convention and Sports Authority Board of Directors, George T. Simpson Confirmation Resolution of 2024. PR 25-965, the Washington Convention and Sports Authority Board of Directors, Marisa Flowers Confirmation Resolution of 2024. PR 25-966, the Washington Convention and Sports Authority Board of Directors, Monica Ray Confirmation Resolution of 2024. PR 25-802, the Alcoholic Beverage and Cannabis Board, Terry Janine Quinn Confirmation Resolution of 2024. As a reminder, public witnesses will have 3 minutes to provide testimony and should remember to mute their microphones when they are not speaking. I think we only have one public witness today who's testifying in person. We're going to begin with our 3 nominations for the Washington Convention and Sports Authority Board of Directors. The first of which is proposed resolution 25-964, the Washington Convention and Sports Authority Board of Directors, George T. Simpson Confirmation Resolution of 2024. This resolution was introduced on September 17th, 2024 by Chairman Mendelson at the request of the mayor and referred to the committee on October 1, 2024. This proposed resolution would confirm the reappointment of George T. Simpson as a member of the Washington Convention and Sports Authority Board of Directors with experience in business finance for a term to end May 16th, 2028. Mr. Simpson has had a long career in real estate industry, mainly with Spectrum Management, where he currently serves as president. Spectrum provides real estate services ranging from real estate development, facility, property maintenance and management, construction management, and architecture and custodial services. Mr. Simpson also is involved in creating opportunities for youth and alternative sports. He serves on the board of Spirit of Sport, DC, and he is a majority owner of the DC's ultimate Frisbee team, DC Breeze. He has a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science from the University of the District of Columbia and is a Ward 5 resident. I don't think that's right. I think he's a Ward 4 resident. All right. I'm going to read all these just so we can. We're going to do all 3 of the Washington Convention and Sports Authority Board of Directors nominees at the same time. The next is PR 25-965, Marisa Flowers Confirmation Resolution 2024, which was introduced on September 17, 2024 by Chairman Mendelson at the request of the mayor. Ms. Flowers, this is also referred to the committee on October 1st, 2024. It would confirm the appointment of Marisa Flowers as a member of the Washington Convention and Sports Authority Board of Directors with experience in business finance for a term to end May 16, 2027. Will term to end on May 16, 2027, a year less than the term of the other nominee, Mr. Simpson. Ms. Flowers has a long career in both public service and the private sector. She served as chief of staff of the council for 3 years, from 2019 to 2022. In my office, when I represented Ward 5, she was the founder and principal of Green Door Advisors, which is a real estate advisory firm providing strategy and consulting services in 2003, since 2003. She is currently the Chief Operating Officer and Executive Vice President of Strategy for the Greater Washington Partnership. She received a Bachelor of Arts from the University of California, Berkeley, and a Master's in City Planning from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. She is a Ward 5 resident. The third nominee for this board is Monica Ray. PR 25-966 was introduced on the same day as the other 2 by the same chairman at the request of the mayor and referred to the committee on the same day. This resolution would confirm the appointment of Monica Ray as a member with experience regarding economic development for the Washington Convention and Sports Authority Board of Directors for a term to end May 16, 2028. So two of them are 2028 and one is 2027. Ms. Ray has had a long career with the District of Columbia in economic and community development. She served as a former president and executive director of the Congress Heights Community Training and Development Center. She is an active member of the Congress Heights community, serving as the chair of the Congress Heights Main Street and as a leader of Congress Heights Community Association. She received a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from Fayetteville State University and is a Ward 8 resident. And it is the practice of this committee to swear in all nominees who prepare for it. So we're going to call up, we don't have any witnesses, public witnesses testifying on these three nominees. So we're going to call them all up. At the same time, if you all don't mind raising your right hands when you get up to the witness table. If y'all don't mind raising your right hands, I'm going to swear you in real quick. Do you each swear or affirm under the penalty of law that the testimony you're about to provide before the Council of the District of Columbia is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to begin with Mr. Simpson's the first listed, so we're going to turn to you, and you can begin your testimony. And good afternoon to each of you. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, Chairman McDuffie and members of the committee. I am George Ty Simpson, and it is my pleasure to receive your consideration for my
Mr.
nomination.
Simpson, I hate to interrupt if you don't mind. Yeah,
There we
just a little closer so people can pick you up. You can begin again.
Excellent. All right, team effort. All right. I am George Ty Simpson, and it is my pleasure to receive your consideration for my nomination to serve on the Washington Convention and Sports Authority Board of Directors. I am grateful to Mayor Bowser for nominating me and honored to have this opportunity to serve the residents of our district. I'm a partner at Spectrum Management, a Washington, D.C. firm providing a wide array of services, including facilities management, construction management, and real estate development. At Spectrum, we are guided by the philosophy that a business or organization can only grow stronger with the support of well-organized, expertly managed facilities and service. It's a true honor to be considered for reappointment to the Events DC Board of Directors. I'm excited about the opportunity to continue contributing my diverse professional experience to advancing the city's economic and cultural growth through world-class that attracts local, national, and international audiences. At Spectrum Management, I've had the privilege of working with both private and public organizations across a range of industries, delivering services that drive economic impact, enhance operational efficiency, and contribute to the development of local communities. From overseeing high-profile events to transitioning large construction projects and managing real estate developments, I've developed a comprehensive understanding of how strategic planning and execution can create lasting benefits for the city. This experience, I believe, positions me to continue to be an effective and strategic Events DC board member. As a partner of Spectrum Management, I've been involved in a variety of projects that align with the goals of Events DC, particularly in terms of economic development and community engagement. These events bring significant economic benefits to the city, from hotel stays to local spending, while enhancing its profile as a premier destination. I'm also the majority owner of the DC Breeze, Washington's professional ultimate Frisbee team. The Ultimate Frisbee Association has a 24-team league with 2 teams located in Canada. DC Breeze adds to sports entertainment options that our city offers and proudly represents the District of Columbia and the National Capital Region. Our vision for Events DC. If reappointed to the Events DC Board of Directors, I will continue to bring a strategic and collaborative approach to enhancing Washington, D.C.'s position as a world-class, family-friendly destination. I support the Events DC vision, which centers around 3 key areas: enhancing Washington, D.C.'s global standing, Washington, D.C. is a unique and vibrant city, and there's enormous potential to further position it as a global destination for international conferences, exhibitions, and cultural events. Number two, supporting local economic growth and development. Through my work at Spectrum Management and my time on the Events DC Board of Directors, I've seen firsthand how large events are powerful engines for economic growth and community development. My focus will be on ensuring that the economic and community benefits of major events and developments are shared throughout the city. Three, sustainable infrastructure and event planning. With Spectrum Management's experience in construction management and real estate development, I understand the importance of creating sustainable, long-lasting infrastructure that supports events and tourism sectors with the future in mind. During my tenure on the board of directors, I proudly served as the chairman of the Community Grants and Engagement Committee. As chairman, I work with my colleagues on the board of directors to ensure the district's young people have a pathway to successes through the Events DC Community Grant Program. The Community Grant Program provides grants over 2 cycles to nonprofit organizations in all 8 wards, supporting district youth through sports, performing arts, and cultural arts. I am particularly proud after a rise in applications for the grant program last year, Events DC was able to increase the funding amount for fiscal year 2025 from $500,000 to $750,000. This allows more organizations to participate, and as a result, more youth across the city will be able to access programming that supports their long-term successes in life. Chairman McDuffie and members of the committee, my background and goals for Events DC are deeply in line with the priorities of this committee, particularly in the areas of economic development, job creation, community development, and supporting small businesses. In closing, I want to express my deep gratitude for being considered for reappointment to the Events DC Board of Directors. I believe my experience and expertise will enable me to continue to make a viable contribution for Events DC and our city as a whole. I am passionate about Washington, DC, and ensuring our city continues to thrive as a global hub for events, tourism, and economic development. Thank you, Chairman McDuffie, for this opportunity to testify before the committee. I would be happy to respond to questions from you and any members of the committee. Thank you.
And thank you for your testimony, Mr. Simpson. Ms. Flowers.
Good afternoon, Chairman McDuffie. I'm Marisa Flowers. It's my pleasure to receive your consideration for my nomination to serve on the Washington Convention and Sports Authority Board of Directors, also known as Events DC. I am grateful to Mayor Muriel Bowser for nominating me and honored to have this opportunity to serve our residents of the district. I am a resident of Ward 5 and have lived in the district for over 22 years, which makes me feel really old at the moment. But I will take a moment just to briefly share my background. I completed my undergraduate degree at UC Berkeley, received a master's in city planning from MIT. As I mentioned, I've worked in the district for 22 years on a variety of real estate and economic development projects, including public-private projects with the National Capital Revitalization Corporation. I founded and led a DC-based CBE real estate advisory firm, worked at the DC Council. I worked as Senior Vice President of Operations for RLJ Lodging Trust, a real estate investment trust that owns over 100 hotels across the country. And now I act as the COO and EVP for strategy at the Greater Washington Partnership, which is an organization that is focused on our region's growth and economic inclusivity. In addition, I serve on the board of the Washington Area Community Investment Fund, a DC-based CDFI, which provides access to capital and capacity building for small businesses. I have spent the majority of my career focused on enhancing the livability and economic vitality of the district. I am most proud of the programs and initiatives I have been able to facilitate that support DC-based entrepreneurs. As you know, Chairman, one of those actions was my work with you, working really closely with the hospitality industry during COVID to craft the $100 million relief fund that supported our hotels and restaurants' viability during that time. I see my service to the Events DC Board as an opportunity to leverage the convention, hospitality, sports, and entertainment resources to support meaningful workforce development pathways and spur economic development. I'm also excited to work with the Events DC Board to ensure that we support and highlight local entrepreneurs, helping to grow the economic development ecosystem in our city. We are at an important point of time in the trajectory of our city. Our events, culture, and unique experiences will be one of the key drivers in the resurgence of our downtown and beyond. My goals on the Events DC board will be to help to ensure that vision is inclusive of all DC, supporting authentic experiences, homegrown entrepreneurs, and supporting our best-in-class hospitality workforce. I look forward to the opportunity to work with the other board members of Events DC and its leadership, Angie Gates, in furthering this vision. Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today, Mr. Chairperson. This concludes my testimony, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
And thank you for your testimony, Mrs. Flowers. We're going to turn next to Monica Ray. Again, good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us. You can begin your testimony.
Good afternoon, Councilmember McDuffie. I am Monica Ray, and I am really proud and grateful to Mayor Bowser for the opportunity to be considered for the Washington Convention and Sports Authority Board. My work over the past 30 years in Washington, D.C., particularly east of the Anacostia River, has been centered on placemaking, economic development, and workforce empowerment, all of which directly align with Events DC's mission to create a premier event experiences, promote the district as a world-class destination, and generate meaningful economic and community benefits. As Executive Director of the Congress Heights Community Training and Development Corporation, I've led initiatives that have transformed vacant and underutilized spaces into thriving hubs of activity and opportunity. Our developments are more than just buildings. They are venues for community, creativity, and economic growth. This approach aligns closely with Events DC's mission to manage and operate venues that not only draw visitors, but serve as engines for economic vitality for our city. I bring firsthand experience in managing large-scale events and venues. Over the past year, I've operated an event venue in Congress Heights, Sycamore and Oak, that has seen more than 80,000 visitors, a number that rivals even the entertainment and sports arena. This venue has hosted a range of cultural and community events that bring both residents and tourists to our neighborhood, contributing to the local economy and fostering a deeper connection between visitors and this community. Additionally, as a producer of Art All Night in Congress Heights, I understand the importance of transforming spaces and creating experiences that attract large crowds. Art All Night has brought over 15,000 visitors to a commercial corridor that typically hosts fewer than 500 people on a Saturday night. This dramatic influx of visitors showcases our ability for large-scale event production and the ability to draw people into emerging areas of the city. The transformation of space and community engagement during these events directly align with Events DC's goal to promote DC as a premier destination and creating top-tier events. In addition, I've spent nearly a decade as president of the Congress Heights Community Association, where I've worked to ensure that development projects and community initiatives serve the needs of our residents. Through this role, I've gained deep insight into the importance of generating economic benefits that truly impact DC's residents and businesses, another cornerstone of Events DC's mission. My experience also extends to real estate development and placemaking, where I've led efforts that not only build physical spaces, but also activate them in ways that benefit community economically and culturally. Whether through workforce development programs that equip residents with the skills they need or creating spaces where entrepreneurs can thrive, my work is always guided by the principle that development must create tangible benefits for local communities. Beyond these professional qualifications, my history as an athlete and coach has instilled in me the leadership qualities that sports so effectively develop: resilience, teamwork, and strategic thinking. I see the entertainment and sports arena right in my backyard and other Events DC venues as incredible assets for the city. They are more than just a venue. They are symbols of how sports and entertainment can be leveraged to drive economic and community development. I am eager to contribute to the board's efforts to maximize venue potential as a catalyst for growth and a space that fosters both local pride and international attention. I am confident that my experience in venue management, large-scale event production, economic development, and community engagement uniquely positions me to contribute to the Washington Convention and Sports Authority Board. My commitment is to ensure that our city continues to thrive as a global destination while always centering the economic and social well-being of district residents. Thank you for your consideration. I look forward to the opportunity to bring my expertise, passion, and dedication to this role and to the continued success of Events DC. I'm available for any questions you may have. Thank you.
And thank you very much for your testimony as well. Ms. Ray, I'm going to ask each of the nominees some pretty standard questions and then maybe some follow-up questions based on your individual experience and how it would contribute as members of the board. And forgive me now, but some of these questions might be slightly redundant of what you've already testified to, just to make sure the record is clear. I'll start with Mr. Simpson. And I'd ask that if folks could silence their phones, I have a phone ringing in the gallery. Are you a district resident? And if confirmed, do you intend to reside in the district for the entirety of your appointment? Okay. If you can turn your mic on for me. And-
All right, yes.
Okay. And have you been, or actually, before I move on to that, let me ask you, what ward do you reside in?
4.
4. Okay. I thought that was correct. 4. I think they had it 5 in the resolution that they sent down. Have you been or are you a member of any district government board or commission?
No.
Do you,
I mean, yes, currently.
okay,
Yeah,
got it.
NCC, right?
No, I understand.
Right.
You're currently a board
Okay.
member with SDC. Let me actually just go down the line. Let me ask Ms. Flowers. Mrs. Flowers. Ms. Ray. Are you a district resident? And if confirmed, do you intend to reside in the district for the entirety of your appointment, Mrs. Flowers?
Yes,
Okay. And where do you reside? What ward?
Ward 5.
Okay, I thought I heard that correctly. I think your resolution had you residing in Ward 4. Let me ask the same question of Monica Ray. Are you a district resident? And if confirmed, do you intend to reside in the district for the entirety of your appointment?
I do.
And what ward do you reside in?
The Great Ward 8.
Okay, the Great Ward 8. Yeah. All righty. And then Monica Ray, have you been or are you a member of any district government board or commission currently?
I am not.
Have you been previously?
Not.
Ms. Flowers, have you been or are you a member of any district government board or commission previously?
No,
Currently?
no,
Mr. Simpson, do you or does any member of your immediate family have any interest, financial or otherwise, that might directly or indirectly pose a conflict of interest for you in the performance of your duties?
No.
It's the same question, Ms. Flowers,
no,
Ms. Ray.
None.
I'll start with Ms. Ray. Are you an attorney? And if so, are you a member of any state bar?
I am not.
Okay. Ms. Flowers?
not an attorney.
Nope.
All right. I'll mix it up a little bit. Start with Ms. Ray. Do you have any outstanding liability for taxes, fees, or other payments to the district, federal, state, or other local government, either contested or uncontested?
None.
Mrs. Flowers?
I do not.
Mr. Simpson?
I do not.
All right. Mr. Simpson, DC Code 10-1202.05 sub A3. Be really specific in this question. It requires that 6 of the 9 public board members shall have proven expertise in municipal finance, business finance, economic development, construction, sports, entertainment, or tourism. Disjunctive, but you could have multiple areas covered. Do you have experience in either of these areas? If so, please state those areas in which you believe you have experience and talk a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, well, definitely I have a DC-based business that's been operating real estate and economic development for the last 24 years. I also pretty much own the DC Breeze, which is a professional ultimate team. I've been the majority owner of that since 2018. When it comes to managing our budgets and our accounting and our forecasting, we're audited every year. So when it comes to understanding infrastructure, economic development, as well as, how to maintain and run facilities, I think I and my company brings a certain level of expertise to Events DC with their infrastructure development as well as sports and entertainment.
Okay, thank you for that. And I know the resolution sent down for you specifically covers business finance, but you covered that in your response in addition to some of the other areas that you bring a level of expertise and experience to the board as well. Ms. Flowers, I'll ask the same question. Let me know if you need me to restate it.
I think I've got it. So yes, I have experience in business finance, economic development, as well as tourism. So I owned and operated my own real estate advisory services firm. I actually do want to correct the record. I think it was said 2003. It actually was founded in 2006. But operated that firm for about 15 years or so. I also previously was the Senior Vice President of Operations at RLJ Lodging Trust. All of the accounting, finance rolled up to me through that role. In that role, also had the opportunity to work at a firm that owns and operates 100 hotels across the country, including a number of hotels here in the District of Columbia. And so have the opportunity to intimately understand both the operations of the hotel business, and the impact of that to economic development for the District of Columbia. I spent a lot of time over my career working on economic development projects, both for the government directly as well as in my consulting role. And then I did, the DC went through and created a creative economic agenda some years ago. I was on the team that put that plan in place that looked at how entertainment can drive economic development throughout the District of Columbia. And so again, I think the variety and sort of breadth of my experience over the years hits a number of those marks.
All right. Again, as with the case with Mr. Simpson, your resolution specifically identifies you as a member with experience in business finance, which you clearly have, but also have a ton of experience that goes beyond that, that will contribute positive to the work of Events DC. So I'm glad to see that. Turning next to Monica Ray, that same provision of the DC code, I'll restate it for the folks at home who'd like to be able to look it up, if so interested, is DC code 10-1202.05 sub A3 requires that 6 of the 9 public board members shall have proven expertise in municipal finance, business finance, economic development, construction, sports, entertainment, or tourism. Do you have experience in economic development as identified in the resolution? And if so, if you could provide an overview of that experience and any other experience that you find relevant to the work that you're going to be doing at Events DC.
Sure. I believe that I bring a body of work over 30 years of leading the Congress Heights Community Training and Development Corporation, deeply rooted in economic development and transformation of cities and communities like Congress Heights. In that role, I've been able to do some really amazing work, like Sycamore and Oak, to create, transform a vacant space to an event venue that people can come together, community comes together, entrepreneurs thrive, and we learn that economic development and community can coexist. Through that role, I've also been able to create more than 1,000 units of affordable housing in and around Ward 8, as well as operating the Congress Heights Main Street, which looks at preservation of commercial corridors and revitalization of those same areas. We have a special affinity to creating entrepreneurships. We train people in business management, how to start their businesses and to run their businesses. And we like to say that we train residents of the District of Columbia to not just serve the community, but to be of service to the community. So I think the body of work over the last 30 years would soundly sit me in the economic development realm.
Thank you for that. I'll ask this question first of Mrs. Simpson as a renomination. It'll be slightly different for Monica Ray and Marisa Flowers. The question is, why do you want to serve on the board for you two? But I'm going to start with Mrs. Simpson as a renomination. Why do you want to continue to serve on this board, given that you've contributed to the work of the board for some time now?
I still think there's work to do. And I think with, Angie Gates's vision and how we're rebranding the city and how we're bringing, again, we went through a tough time during COVID. The question is making more of an economic impact for international visitors coming, heads in beds, hotels, restaurants. The resurgence of our city is exciting. And I think, we went through troubled times. I got on the board, everything was great. We hit COVID. Now it's like, how do we turn the board around? How do we reinvest into DC to make a greater impact, economic impact moving forward? In addition, being the chair of the Community Grants Committee, we've seen a rise in the number of youth programs that we support. We started with like literally maybe 50 or so applications to support youth grants at like $250,000 a year. Now with that committee, we're at $750,000 a year. We had 133 applicants apply for grants, and we actually awarded 79 grants last year. So I think the impact that we're making from the restaurants, hotels, tourism, and our direct community, it's exciting. And I think I love to commit my time to seeing progress and work. And I think that's what we're doing right now. I'm excited about the vision from President Gates, as well as the commitment of DC, who is focusing on not only international, but how do we make Events DC and all of our contributions benefit the residents directly as people who come to our city. So I just want to continue that work and the vision of what's happening currently.
Thank you, Marisa Flowers.
Sure. Thank you for the question. I guess my initial response might sound trite, but it's fundamentally because I love DC and the opportunity to be a part of an organization that drives economic development opportunity for the District of Columbia is something that I'm extraordinarily passionate about. I think that specifically there is so much more room for growth in the city being seen really as a beacon for sports, for entertainment, really seeing not only how that can have the initial impacts, whether it's the tax benefits from tourism, from activity within our city, but how we can also grow a workforce within tourism, hospitality, entertainment, sports, and create more economic opportunities for district residents writ large, and particularly for local entrepreneurs. How do they tap into that economic development ecosystem? How do they leverage, all of that activity, funding, et cetera, that's being driven through the city in a way that is meaningful? I think the district has proven itself to be one that can host major events, can better utilize the assets, the physical assets that we have. And so I just think there's a ton of opportunity and the ability to be on the Events DC board and to help navigate that opportunity, to support Angie Gates, and to support sort of the strategic vision of where we are as an international destination is one that I'm really excited to be a part of.
Thank you for that. Monica Ray, same question.
Great question. I'm probably most excited about the opportunity to bring voice to voices from east of the river. I think it's so important that our voices be heard and represented at tables, not just about downtown or the city at large, but very specifically about how it impacts lives east of the river, how we use our work to drive up unemployment, to drive up home ownership values, and to drive up household income. There's an argument out there about how venues and sports authorities and sports venues really impact the city around them. And we have the opportunity to look at what ESA has done for Congress Heights. It was bigger than basketball then, but now we see hundreds of new housing units and retail coming. So I understand how important our sports and entertainment life is toward how we transform communities. And I think how we leverage that unit toward neighborhoods like mine is most important. So I'm excited about working with Angie Gates, the mayor and the council, on how we bring more activity, how we increase the number of days where ESA is activated, and amplifying the message about DC as a place to go.
Thank you for that response. I really appreciate that perspective. When approving a member of the board, the council must consider whether the individual possesses demonstrated integrity, independence, and public credibility, and whether the individual has particular knowledge, training, or experience in government ethics or in public transparency. I'll start with Monica Ray and ask, how would you characterize your integrity, independence, and public credibility?
I'm probably very biased.
Kind of expect each of you to be there.
Exactly right. I think I hold the utmost integrity. I've walked and spent 30 years of my life in DC, and I am very proud of the fact that I've been bone arrow straight from an integral position and commitment to our people.
Marisa Flowers.
I think I would echo many of the sentiments of Monica. I did, as a council employee, have the opportunity to go through BEGA training. So I have actually, had that specific training and can attest to the fact that I have have and will continue to abide by all of the ethical rules, regulations. And I don't think over the course of 22 years working here in the city, again, at the intersection of public and private, that anybody has questioned my integrity, and I will never give them a reason to.
Thank you. Mr. Simpson.
Thank you. And I think I continue to go through beta training every year after sitting on the board. But in addition, and I'm going to kind of echo what Marisa was saying, after having a business for 24 years and we're getting audited, audit compliance, we've had to stay above board in order to pretty much be in business this long. So if we don't pretty much hold the standard of ethics at the highest regard, then no one else will. So we've had a pretty good track record. Right now, my track record looks pretty good. Bega thinks so as well, from what I understand. So I will keep this going at least for the next 4 years while I'm in this position.
Got it. Got it. Appreciate that. You mentioned in your previous response about why you want to serve on the board, the number of applications that you got for some of the grants, programs that you all administer. I believe you said when you started on the board, there's probably about 50 applications for an amount of 250,000 that you had to award. It's been increased to 750,000. There were 133 applications, is what I heard you say, I think, and that you awarded 79. The 79 awarded, the 133 applications suggest to me that there's some gaps. Perhaps you tell me, in your experience as chair of that committee, whether there are some very worthy organizations that perhaps don't get served by the grants given the limits that you have and the amount of money that you have as the board. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I wanted to just maybe hear you talk a little bit about, why what you all are doing with your grant programs is so important, but also acknowledging, how many needy organizations there are out there that perhaps could also be served if resources were a little bit greater.
No, Councilman, that's a fair question. And I have to say that they're doing, Events CC and President Gates are doing a robust job of qualifying organizations to get the grants. So if you have 133 applicants, and then some people don't have maybe a certificate of good standing, some people don't have the right 990 form. A lot of it boils down to technicalities. So what President Gates and them have done in the organization, we've actually set it up so they're having training sessions so more applicants can apply ahead of time. And they're giving them a list of, you have to check all these boxes to receive this grant. I have to say that with the number of grant applicants that we have, we've actually had to increase the number of support for staff just to go through the applications. The objective here is to fill as many as we can, but the key to it is, like, we still don't feel as we're filling the need of the organizations. So this grant program has gone from Ward 1 to Ward 8. We had the largest number of grant awardees in Ward 8 this year than in the history of the grant program. The objective was that we're constantly reaching out to the community and leaders in the community to pretty much say, we want your small organization to apply. We're actually giving them the support to say, this is how you become a nonprofit, because you have to become a nonprofit in order to get those grants as well. But I still think that we have the ability to increase the grant funding and target those small mom and pop organizations that are providing great services, but they're not qualified as a nonprofit.
Yeah.
So President Gates was actually talking about, how can we award, maybe sponsorships, award additional funds to some of these smaller organizations, or get them qualified to become a nonprofit to receive the grant. They're doing robust outreach in order to fill this requirement.
Yeah, no, just to be clear, it was not a critique of the work that the board was doing so much as it was an observation of potential gaps in terms of how many people need to be served and the limits to the funding that Events DC might have. And I know there are other agencies who are also working to help fill those gaps and provide resources in the form of grants to organizations. I also appreciate Angie Gates's focus, which I think is, and she said in testimony before this committee, through an equity lens to make sure that they're reaching out to more organizations, like you said, in Ward 8 and other parts of the city that perhaps had been overlooked or perhaps under-resourced without the ability to apply. So I appreciate hearing that, and I know that Monica Ray appreciates hearing that, as did Denise Rolock Barnes in her service on this board. Let me ask the question of Monica Ray, in addition to your professional experience, you bring a unique perspective based on your extensive community involvement and service in contract sites, which you talked about, which hosts the St. Elizabeth's campus and the entertainment and sports arena, which you also testified about. You've talked about what that means and the impact of the ESA. I want to give you an opportunity just to expound on that a bit and how that might shape, at least in part, your approach to the work and your perspective that you'll bring if confirmed by this committee.
Sure, I have to go back to 2014. We were thinking about how our community can continue to change and we can lead that change. And we looked at the Convention Center Authority's map. And strangely enough, the map seemed to just stop at Capitol Hill. Anacostia and Congress Heights didn't even exist from a perspective about how we market our city to the external stakeholders. And we thought that that had to change. And we sought out to find ways to re-encourage people to understand that there's a whole community of people who've been in the city for decades who need to be recognized. And we started this branding campaign, and the soul of the city emerged from that effort. And shortly thereafter, we were announced that the ESA was coming. And the first drafts of all the testimonies said that the entertainment and sports arena was coming to Anacostia. And our first argument was to correct everybody's agenda that it's not Anacostia, it's Congress Heights, and there's a real community here. And that one campaign about changing the narrative about where you are and this community led to all kinds of opportunity for residents in Congress Heights. If you visit ESA, you'll see there's a team of young and not so young people who are out there in snow, wind, rain, sun to welcome people to the entertainment and sports arena. And that team has been able to become advocates and ambassadors for what they are now proud of to be in Congress Heights. The training opportunities, the workforce development opportunities that are presented as a result of events coming to Washington, D.C. is immeasurable. As you know, my community has long suffered from having double-digit, or at least double the national average unemployment. How do we leverage assets from Events DC stakeholders to reduce those stark unemployment rates? And what we know is we have about 30 people who've been employed consistently since 2016 when the arena opened. And I think that really speaks to why this is so important. And it comes full circle to think that less than 10, 12 years ago, Congress Heights wasn't even on the agenda. And here, a Congress Heights resident is allowed to sit on the board. So I think that voice is ever so important.
Thank you for that response. And Marisa Flowers, as you mentioned in your testimony, and I think I mentioned in my opening, you worked on a council staff, including in reference to this committee, which has oversight of matters concerning Events DC. You also have pretty extensive private sector experience with business, finance, economic development, and real estate, as you also talked about earlier. Are there any aspects of the work of the Events DC board that you plan to focus on, or any particular perspective that you think you'll bring to the work of the board?
Sure. I think a couple of things. I've worked across different industries. I think the one consistent thing across all of my work is the approach, sort of the strategic approach. How can we identify opportunities for collaboration where through partnership we can create something sort of bigger than if we move along in silos. And that has been consistent across all of the work that I've done over the years. And so my hope is, just as I'm bringing sort of that level of thought leadership to the Greater Washington Partnership, as I hope I did when I worked at council, that I can also be that strategic advisor, both to President Gates, to the other board members, and to the team at Events DC, because I think there are just a tremendous amount of opportunities, both for what Ty has referenced and Monica has referenced, the assets of Events DC and of the city really, I think, are limitless. And so it's really about how can we put that sort of building together, put those blocks together so that ultimately we end up with something greater than where we started. So that, I think, my ability to work across sectors, that I've worked in a number of different industries and have been able to provide sort of strategic advice and guidance throughout my career is something that I hope to bring. And secondarily, I would say, there's a lot of conversation around, and this is perhaps a bit tangential, but when we talk about the impact of community grants for youth in the district, I think the ability to engage young folks in the city in ways that perhaps feel less traditional, right? So maybe it's not school, maybe it's through sports, maybe it's through arts, maybe it's through entertainment. I think for people to see themselves in this city, right, to see their place here, to see how they can see, what thriving looks like for them, I think will help the district overall, will help both our economy, but also more specifically help children really, again, sort of see what their place is and feel proud of that and feel like they can be invested in the city because the city is investing in them. And I think Events DC can be a tool for that. There's lots of tools in the tool belt, but we need to be a place where everybody can see themselves. And through sports, entertainment, arts, and hospitality, I think there are a lot of pathways for young folks in the city to be grounded and to find opportunity here. So those are the two perspectives I hope to bring to the board.
And thank you for that response. I don't have any additional questions for either of the nominees at this point. Is there anything else that either of you would like to add to the record before we move on to our next nominee? Okay, if we have any additional follow-up, we'd be sure to reach out to you through the mayor's office. Thank you for your willingness to serve, and you all have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to turn next to the final item on our agenda, which is proposed resolution 25-802, the Alcoholic Beverage and Cannabis Board Terry Janine Quinn Confirmation Resolution of 2024, which was introduced on May 10th, 2024 by Chairman Mendelson at the request of the mayor and referred to the Committee on Business and Economic Development on June 11th, 2024. This proposed resolution will confirm the appointment of Terry Janine Quinn as a member of the Alcoholic Beverage and Cannabis Board for a term to end May 7th, 2027. Ms. Quinn is a practicing attorney in the District of Columbia. Currently, she practices compliance law with a specific focus on anti-corruption, anti-bribery, and money laundering issues. She spent a significant part of her legal career practicing energy law at White & Case LLP. Ms. Quinn is president of the Bloomingdale Civic Association, a position she has held for over 13 consecutive years. As president of the Civic Association, she has successfully represented Bloomingdale before several district agencies, including the ABCA. Likewise, she has assisted many Bloomingdale residents and businesses on issues related to ABCA. Ms. Quinn received a Bachelor of Arts in Journalism from Texas Southern University and her Juris Doctor from Howard University. She is a Ward 5 resident. And before we hear from the nominee, we'll hear from our only public witness, and that's Robert Vincent Branham. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Branham. Thanks for joining us. And you can begin your testimony. You have 3 minutes.
Greetings and salutations, Mr. Chairman. I am Robert Vincent Branham, Chairman of the Board of Esther Productions Incorporated, Chairman, Ward 5 Leadership Council Public Safety Committee. I am also a former Advisory Neighborhood Commissioner, former President of the Bloomingdale Civic Association, and President Emeritus of the DC Federation of Civic Associations. Esther Productions was founded in 2004 by award-winning author and arts administrator Janetta Rose Barris. It is a federally tax-exempt, multifaceted corporation with the express mission of inspiring and empowering women and girls ages 14 and older, under-resourced communities, and fragile families. Mr. Chairman, I am more than pleased to support this nomination. Ms. Quinn Cherry, as you said, is president of the Bloomingdale Civic Association. She also is the third vice president of the DC Federation of Civic Associations, and we both serve as board members of the DC Open Government Coalition. There are a few people who walk this earth with a level of respect, affection, and admiration I hold for Terry. Terry is not only a highly respected leader in the Bloomingdale community, she is also a valued and personal friend. Terry is an accomplished professional dedicated to the best interests of the residents of the District of Columbia. She is faithful to her principles and honors her words to others. Many people walk tall because of physique. Terry stands tall because of her character and integrity, embedded by the gospel. Unlike other government officials, Terry is not stained by avarice, clothed by covetousness, or baptized in waters of greed. Terry has many strengths. One is the ability to make intricate public policy issues simple and understandable. I could speak for hours and write volumes on the greatness and goodness of Terry, someone I call friend. On a personal note, this past year, I have experienced several adverse medical circumstances. Thankfully, by the grace of God, I am moving forward medically and spiritually. In the period since and on those occasions when my wife travels out of town, out of the city, out of the country, Terry was there, is there as a friend, standing in the gap for me along with my son. There is a song magnificently sung by the late, great Aretha Franklin entitled Walk in the Light. I paraphrase the song here. Terry walks in the light, beautiful light. She comes from where the dewdrops of competence and decency shine bright all around Bloomingdale and across the District of Columbia, by day and by night. Terry is a community light of Bloomingdale and the District of Columbia. One last word, Mr. Chairman. I would urge all my district residents and voters to vote for Kamala Harris and vote no on Initiative 83. I am fully in total support of the nominee of Terry Janine Quinn to the Alcohol Beverage and Cannabis Board. I thank you.
And I thank you for taking the time to provide what obviously is very personal testimony. Tells me how well you know the nominee. And having known you for as many years as I have as an active civic participant in all the goings on in and around Bloomingdale and across the District of Columbia, I appreciate you adding your voice on the record. So that means a lot to have that testimony in support of this particular nominee. So thank you, Mr. Branham, for your testimony. We both have it on the record and we also have it in writing. Thanks. Thank you. There being no additional public witnesses, we're going to turn to the nominee for PR 25-802, Terry Janine Quinn. As I do with all nominees, I'm going to swear you in before you're seated. If you don't mind raising your right hand. You swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you're about to provide to the Council of the District of Columbia and the Committee on Business and Economic Development is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You can be seated. And whenever you are situated, I'll turn to you and hear your testimony.
I'll start by saying that everyone needs a Robert Branham in their life. Thank you, Councilmember McDuffie, for holding this hearing and considering my nomination for the Alcoholic Beverage and Cannabis Board. My name is Terry Janine Quinn, and it is an honor to be nominated to serve on this board. I'm a proud graduate of Howard University School of Law, where we were taught early and often that, in the words of the great Charles Hamilton Houston, a lawyer is either a social engineer or a parasite on society. I'm a social engineer. For the past few years, I've practiced compliance law with a specific emphasis on anti-corruption, anti-bribery, and anti-money laundering issues. However, for most of my career, I practiced regulatory law with an emphasis on federal and state energy matters. I've also handled equal housing and voting rights matters pro bono. I am committed to service. Over the past 16 years, that commitment has included serving the Bloomingdale community, Ward 5, and the district. Currently, I am a commissioner on the Commission on Human Rights. I am nearing the tail end of my 14th consecutive year serving as president of the Bloomingdale Civic Association. I also served 2 consecutive terms as an advisory neighborhood commissioner for single-member District 5E06 and 2 consecutive terms as chair of ANC 5E. In addition, I served as vice president of North Capitol Main Street, and if I remember correctly, I believe Councilmember McDuffie had a little something to do with that. As a member of the McMillan Advisory Group and the Mid-City East Advisory Group, an election protection volunteer through the Washington Bar Association and the Washington Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under Law, and a mayoral appointee on the task force on the prevention of flooding in Bloomingdale and LaDroit Park. I've received numerous community service awards and accolades, including being named a Washington Woman of Excellence for excellence in leadership. As a representative of Bloomingdale, I've had extensive experience with APCA matters for more than a decade and a half. I've represented Bloomingdale and ANC 5E in APCA hearings and mediation. And I've counseled residents and businesses to assist in the resolution of conflicts and to provide guidance regarding the regulatory process. My service-based experience combined with my professional experience make me an ideal candidate for this board. As an attorney, this board position is of particular interest to me because it presents a unique opportunity to decide matters involving a novel area of law and issues of first impression. The laws and regulations related to cannabis are still relatively new and yet evolving. This board position introduces a chance to use my specific skill set in service to the district and to learn a new and developing area of law. It is my hope to be able to use my knowledge and gifts to ensure that laws and regulations related to alcohol and cannabis are fairly upheld and implemented. If appointed, I hope to bring a fresh perspective and innovative ideas to the board. I would be honored to have an opportunity to help the board execute its mission. Thank you, Mayor Bowser, for the honor of this nomination. And again, Councilmember McDuffie, thank you for your time and considering my nomination.
You bet, and thank you for your willingness to serve. I have some questions for you. And I'm going to begin, as I do with all nominees before this committee, with the standard questions that you've already answered in your pre-hearing questionnaire, but I think it's important to make sure we establish a proper record for your nomination. Are you a district resident? And if confirmed, do you intend to reside in the district for the entirety of your appointment?
I do, and I am.
Okay, and what ward do you reside?
Ward 5.
Have you been or are you a member of any district government board or commission?
I'm a member of the Commission on Human Rights.
Okay. You currently?
Yes,
Okay. Do you anticipate that your current service as a member of the Commission on Human Rights will present any conflicts if you're approved as an ABC board member?
I don't believe so, but I've been advised that you can only serve on one, so I would leave that board.
Okay, so upon, if you are confirmed by this council for this position on APCA for the board, then you would resign your board seat in the Commission on Human Rights.
That's correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you for that. Do you or does any member of your immediate family have any interest, financial or otherwise, that may directly or indirectly pose a conflict of interest for you in the performance of your duties before on the APCA board, if confirmed?
No,
You already talked about being an attorney, and so are you a member of any state bar?
I am the DC bar.
Okay, and are you currently in good standing with the DC bar?
I am, thankfully.
Paid those dues this year, I take it. Do you have any outstanding liability for taxes, fees, or other payments to the district, federal, state, or other local government, either contested or uncontested?
No,
The board's establishing enabling legislation, requires members to possess certain attributes and refrain from certain conduct during their terms. With regards to the statute, have you resided in the district continuously since 2021?
yes,
Have you claimed principal residence anywhere else other than the district since 2021?
no,
Do you hold any other office or employment in the district government?
no,
DC Code 25-206C requires a record of substantial involvement in issues related to the community impact of licensed establishments prior to appointment. Will you discuss your demonstrated record of involvement, which I'm sure is plenty given the roles that you've served in previously as ANC Commissioner and currently as Bloomingdale Civic Association, but let's just make sure the record is complete.
sure. In those roles, I have had the opportunity for many, many years at this point to work with both businesses and residents who have an interest before the board. From the residents' perspective, it might be a situation where they are opposing a license or renewal. From a business perspective, sometimes it's that they are applying for a new license or again, renewal, or perhaps there's just a regular conflict between neighbors and a particular business. And I think through those many years of experience, I've honed an ability to help them identify areas of synergy and to take a reasonable approach at conflict resolution. I also had a lot of experience working with businesses through North Capitol Main Street. So I think that's a good summary of my experience that relates to this position.
Okay. DC Code 25-206G bars members of the board from having an interest in selling, transporting or storing alcoholic beverages, or receiving commission or profit from any person licensed under this title to sell alcoholic beverages. Let me repeat that. The code bars members of the board from having an interest in selling, transporting, or storing alcoholic beverages, or receiving commission or profit from any person licensed under this title to sell alcoholic beverages. Would this provision prevent you from serving on the board?
No,
DC Code bars former members from representing clients before the board for a period of 1 year after their tenure. Do you have any reason to believe that you would not be able to abide by this obligation if confirmed as an ABC board member?
no.
Okay. Talk a little bit about two things. Why you want to serve. I'll let you start with that, and then I'll have a follow-up question about just really what you believe the role and mission of the board is and with respect to your membership on the board.
So I'll start with the first question. The thing that really piqued my interest here is not alcohol. I've been working on those issues for years, as I was stated earlier. It's really the cannabis part. It's the opportunity as an attorney to work on issues of first impression. I mean, I think most attorneys would find that an interesting prospect. It's great to be able to use a skill set that you've been using for years and years in a way that both serves the community, but also helps you in terms of expanding your area of expertise and learning opportunities. So for me, that is one of the more attractive parts of this opportunity. I also really do enjoy finding ways for businesses and residents to coexist well. And I know your ability as a board member to do that is somewhat limited in terms of, hearing opportunities and ways that you're able to interact with both businesses and residents. But I do think that there's an opportunity to explore that further as well.
Okay, I appreciate that response. You listed a number of memberships that you either currently or formerly held, but it was a little bit challenging for us to distinguish between the two throughout your responses to the committee's pre-hearing questions. So we want to just clarify a couple of things. Are you currently a member and president of the Bloomingdale Civic Association?
That is correct.
Okay. Are you currently a member of the DC Federation of Civic Associations?
I mean, I don't know if I listed that because I think I kind of think of the Bloomingdale Civic Association as being the member. I represent the Civic Association on the board.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know that you really consider individuals to be
Got it.
members of that
Okay.
organization.
And what about the Open Government Coalition?
I am a member of that board.
Okay. Mid-City East Advisory Committee?
No,
McMillan Advisory Group?
no,
Are you currently the chair of Advisory Neighborhood Commission 5E?
I am not. I'm also no longer a commissioner.
Are you currently the vice president of North Capitol Main Street?
I am not.
I got the point. And so thanks for helping to clarify that. Just in terms of your service, if confirmed by the Council of the District of Columbia as a member of the ABC board, would you plan to continue as president in Bloomingdale Civic Association? If so, do you anticipate any potential conflicts there?
I'm not sure if I will continue as president. I mean, part of that is not up to me. But I would say that I don't see a conflict. I think, well, let me put it this way. Let me back up a little bit. there will be inevitably issues that come up that relate to this board within the Civic Association, and the Civic Association may take a position. The reason I think I was leaning into not having a conflict is because I've been in this position before. I have been president of the Bloomingdale Civic Association and chair of ANC 5E, and had to balance those two organizations, and more than an actual conflict, of balancing just the perception of a conflict and understanding how to navigate that, and when you need to excuse yourself, when you need to completely not participate in a matter. Perhaps that's through delegation of another board member to handle a matter. And just, I think the bottom line is you have to use some level of common sense. And then we have resources available to help guide those decisions through BEGA that I think will help ease any burden there.
And just, there's a process, I'm sure, for recusal on the board that I'm sure you would familiarize yourself with if confirmed by the Council of the District of Columbia. And would you have any problem, just to be clear, recusing yourself if an actual or perceived conflict arose in your service?
No.
Okay. You had mentioned as prior experience in your pre-hearing questionnaire that you assist businesses and residents regarding ABC matters and provided guidance regarding best practices for maintaining a healthy relationship between the two. I guess the question is, do you still do that? I guess is that something that you're actively engaged in currently?
Oh, certainly. I mean, I might at any point right now have a resident or a business come to me and say, hey, this is what's going on. How do I navigate this? Or this is what's going on. I've got this application that I'm thinking about filing, or I've filed, and I'd like to come before the board. Or a resident might ask, something's going on my block to do with this business. How do I resolve this? Do I just pick up the phone and call the owner? Do I walk down there? Do I need to go through the agency? Those kinds of questions that I think any civic association president would deal with.
All right. I guess part of that question was just kind of establishing the work that you're doing civically in your active engagement as a resident in your community, which is highly encouraged, obviously. But the potential for it to really run up against some of the work that you would do if confirmed by the council to the APCA board. I don't think there's any reason to believe that you or any other member couldn't navigate that appropriately through recusal and other means. But I did want to have that established and to give you an opportunity to talk to some of the things that you put on your questionnaire and some of the experiences that you're having, particularly as a civic association president. But I don't have any other questions for you. Right. Well, let me ask you this. In terms of the time commitment, are you aware of the time commitment? Have you had the opportunity to speak with anybody who's a current board member or to executive office of the mayor about what that might look like? And are you comfortable with that?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Okay. Do you have any other questions? Not questions. Do you have any concerns, given all that we've talked about today, that you've heard from this committee about joining the board?
I don't.
Okay. Anything else that you would like to share before we adjourn?
Just thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your willingness to serve. And that's all the questions that we have. You are excused.
All right. Thank you.
And I'd like to thank everyone who testified on the measures on our agenda today. As a reminder, those interested in submitting written testimony, and we encourage it, if you're interested in submitting written testimony before the record, you may do so until 5 p.m. on October 5th, 2024. Submissions should be uploaded via the new hearing management system on the council's website at dccouncil.gov. There being no further business before the Committee on Business and Economic Development, this marks the end of today's public roundtable. The time is now 2:23 p.m. and this hearing is adjourned.